Hello! It's Jen from Big Heart Small Farm, and I am having a friend over tonight for dinner. Well, she's sleeping over, but we're gonna eat. And she doesn't really get to eat, Jamaican cooking very often. So whenever she's coming, she always offers like, "Oh, I can pick up takeout." I'm like, you know what? No, I only see you, let's say, once every couple months, so I want to cook when you're coming. So what I am getting ready, it's 8 in the morning right now. I took out my oxtail from the freezer last night. It is thawed out, so I'm going to season it up now. I'm not going to cook it now, but I'm going to get it marinating. So I've got my oxtail in here. There's not a lot, but with oxtail, if you've ever eaten it, you don't need a lot. It's a very rich meat. So I just poured a little bit of vinegar in here, and I'm just going to wash this off, and then I'm going to start seasoning it up. And I think you guys, hopefully, you know by now, you always wash your meat, whether it's vinegar for meat and like chicken and beef and stuff, and lemon or lime for fish. Make sure you wash it. So have that washed, and I'm going to start with my onion. Normally the seasoning would be onion, green onion, garlic, but I'm all out of green onions. I just finished my dehydrated green onions last week. So disappointing for sure, but that's okay. And the other thing too is that sometimes with cooking, especially when someone's learning how to cook, they want to do it perfect and they want me to tell them the exact measurements, and sometimes I don't know. It depends on the meat, and it's hard to put exact measurement. It's more for me it's about a feeling. It's about a feeling. It's about how it looks once everything is all together. So because I don't have green onions, I am doing a little bit more regular onion than I would normally do. So this is how much onion I'm using. I'm just going to add it in here. So that's more than I would normally use. I would probably use about 3/4 of that plus my green onions, but we have to make do with what we have. And for the garlic, again, if I tell you, oh, you need to use 3 pegs of garlic, that's a peg, and that's also a peg. So if I tell you 3, is it 3 of these or 3 of that? It depends how it looks once it's on my cutting board. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to use this much garlic. So this time around it's 4. Technically this one is like a double, so it's more like 5. But once it's on your cutting board, then you can kind of gauge it. And you want to know something? Too much onion and too much garlic will never hurt your recipe when you're cooking meat. It only adds to it. I even find sometimes once I've been stewing it down, I end up actually adding more to the reduction, and it just makes the flavors stronger. So I'm just pressing the garlic, taking off the skin. I'm going to cut it up. So this is how much garlic it is chopped up, and I am good with that amount. Add it in. Alrighty, so next I need thyme and pimento. Okay, for both of these I need to grind them up in the coffee grinder. So this is my dehydrated thyme. The sticks on it are really hard, so I have to grind it up. And my pimento, I have to grind it up. If you don't have a coffee grinder, with the pimento you can put it in a piece of paper towel, wrap it in the paper towel, and then use like the butt of your knife, like that, and break it up. I have a coffee grinder, so it's way faster and it's less messy. So this is how much pimento I'm going to grind up. As you can see, it's whole pimento kernels. It's not a lot because when this goes to powder, it's a lot of powder. All right, look at that. Perfect. Now time. You will probably be using fresh thyme. So what I would say is like a pinch full, this much, that you can pinch like that thick between your fingers and put it in. Again, too much thyme, it's not going to hurt anything. It's not. Next ingredients. We're now into our powder seasoning. So black pepper, salt. We use pink Himalayan salt. And this is not powder seasoning, liquid browning. So this, I mean, this is hard to find. And actually, that's interesting. It's oxtail. Oxtail, read on the label. Okay, so pepper, again, I don't measure it. It's about what it looks like. And the reality, when you're doing like a stew like this and you're going to be reducing it, do less salt and less pepper. You can always add more at the end. What I do is I just put a little bit just to season up the meat while it's like for the marination period. And then when we're close to the end of the reduction, I taste test. And then I can say, okay, yes, more salt, more pepper. The other thing too is I may end up adding, let's say, Scotch bonnet pepper. It depends on who I'm cooking for, right? If it's just for my husband and I and the kids, then yes, absolutely, Scotch bonnet. So now I'm adding in the browning. I'll show you. I just drizzled it over the meat. Again, I don't measure it. You'll know when you need more once you take your hands, put it in the pot, and you start squeezing all of the seasonings together. Yeah, this is the right amount of browning. Awesome. So this is how it looks. You don't want any more than that because it will, the browning does have a bit of a flavor. And you don't want it to take over all of the other lovely ingredients you just added. Beautiful. So now, put a lid on this in the fridge, and then on my lunch break from work, I will get it cooking. Okay, it's my lunch break. So, I just have coconut oil here. Normally I would use olive oil, but I'm all out right now. So, I'm just heating the oil up, and I'm going to start cooking my oxtail. So, it's been sitting for almost 5 hours. It's looking really yummy. So, I'm just going to use my hand, grab it, and put it in. And also, I use purple onions. I'm just seeing it. The purple color is really bright. Okay, so what I try to do is leave as much of the onions in the bowl as I can, because if, you know, there's a couple in here, you're not going to be able to avoid it completely, but you really want to brown the meat, just the meat, as much as you can, because the onions are going to, you know, burn in this heat, right? So the other thing to mention too, I'm not going to do a full tutorial on this, but while I have this browning and stewing, my plan for dinner is rice and peas. So I'm also starting to boil my kidney beans for that. And so just as like a quick tip, I mean, don't use canned kidney beans because they're pretty horrible, but you start to boil them, and then once you see that most of them have floated to the top like this, you need to take water, pour the water over top, and sink them. So that's how you do that. And this is in a pressure cooker. I may do that today because I'm on my lunch break and I kind of want to just get that out of the way, get the rice in, and get moving. But kidney beans, to be honest, don't take really that long to cook. At least these ones here in Canada, they don't take really that long. So that's what I'm working on. I'm going to really let this meat get browned up, and then I'll show you the next step once I get there. Okay, so I flipped over 2 pieces, and I just wanted to show you sort of like the coloring that you want it to have. It's like this. So it's blackened, but it's not burnt, right? So this is the color that you want it to have, and you can see this one here as well. Same coloring. This is really going to like force all that seasoning we did, force that seasoning all the way through the meat. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip everything else, make sure it doesn't go too far. All right, so this piece here, I just flipped it back over. It's ready to come out. So what I'm going to do now is piece by piece, I'm going to take each piece of oxtail out of this pot, and I'm going to put it in here. I don't want to add the water directly into this pot as is, because it's too much oil in here. You do not, I mean, you can if that's what you like, but my experience is it makes your gravy way too oily. So I take all the pieces out, get rid of a bit of the oil, and then I add everything back in and I add water. I'll show you. So I'm just grabbing, putting it right back there in the seasoning bowl. I'll show you the next step. All right, I'm on a bit of a time crunch. So, put all my meat in this bowl. I've dumped out most of the oil. I just have a little bit covering the bottom of the pot now. So what I did, if you have watched my other videos, I cooked Lion's food this morning. So the extra oil, I just put it right in his pot. So that's going to give him that amazing oxtail flavor. So what I'm going to need to do now is I'm going to dump this entire bowl into here. So let's see if I can do it with one hand. I might not be able to. Let's try. Okay, I did it. All right, so now inside this bowl, there's lots of seasoning in there. We don't want to lose that, right? So I'm taking my water. I'm just going to dump it right in this bowl. Whoops. It's my left hand. Give me a break. So I'm just using my spoon and just kind of like wiping all the seasoning down. Then what I can do, take this, right in here. So to me, that's about the perfect amount of water. You want the meat to be just covered. It might be a little bit too much, slightly. It's okay, we're going to reduce this anyway. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this on medium. I'm going to put a cover on it. And it's just going to stew and stew and stew.